when companies really look at it that way, and they take a lot of what you're talking about, which is you were on the brand side and you kind of know those takings, you're able to then see how do you then translate that into the end result, which is how do you leverage tech and process to empower people versus just people are this disposable thing that comes in and out, right? I mean, do you see that as well on your?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's, you know, we're always prompted to take action when there's something that's going wrong or bad or we don't like it. And, I think, and this is just an observation, but, I think across the board that the model of BPOs really has really been, I think there's elements that are like less desirable, right? It has become, where do you find the cheapest labor? And it's become labor arbitrage, right? And it gets further and further away of the really kind of the business of dealing with and developing people, because it is so short term and it is kind of that instant gratification, right? Because I need to decrease my budget, so why not find the cheapest locations? And so I think when you're looking at those types of things, those are the very things that I hated that I want to change and not do within our organization. So I've worked for small to medium-sized BPOs, and a lot of times within those organizations, they don't ever invest in anything, right? I can't even tell you, I hate the look of a spreadsheet. If they use that as a record keeping, I just want to stab my own leg. It's like there's better and easier ways of doing things. And so I think by starting a company, I've had the luxury of really building it from scratch, but building it the right way. And so when we talk about, customer experience, when we talk about employee experience and starting from inside out, we really used that concept and really approached it that way. So as we're designing a complementary tech stack, what are all the tools and resources that's going to help the employees onboard, do their jobs, do it well, be successful, and help them get onto that next level? So we talk a lot about, frictionless customer experience, making it easy for the customers to do business with our organization. It's the same thing with employees. How do we decrease the friction of how they interact with our organization and our company? And then how do we gear that towards systems that really help them? There can be just sure, you can buy whatever you want, but if it doesn't truly help them do their jobs better in a way that they feel is effective, then it just compounds the issue of frustration, right? So, I take an example of training, classroom training. Well, the very next thing after you're done training, you go into nesting. And then once you go into nesting, then you're on the live calls. Well, that feeling feels like you just dropped off a cliff. Because in your last job, you were the expert. You knew a lot of things. You had a good comfort level. Now starting something brand new, you kind of had, everything taken away from you. And now you're on unsteady ground. So how do we continue to build that confidence in them? And then by the time they do reach production, they're successful, but it takes complementary tools and resources to make sure that they're successful.